to really do much. It doesn't, it just like, oh, it's there.
Right.
Cool. All right. We're going to hop right back into JavaScript. We're going to start off by going through the solution for exercise 2, and then we're going to look at alternate ways to do event listeners. So if you guys want to go back to your exercise 2, I know a lot of y'all didn't get a chance to finish it, so you do have the solution. Definitely spend some time at home looking through the solution, making sure that you're answering all the questions that you have. But what was really the whole purpose of this exercise was to build HTML on the back end in JavaScript. So I'm going to take this entire content section, and between the backticks, I'm going to have a form object, so that my unsolved CSS looks like so. So now I have a form for users to be able to type in a username and a password, and they have a button submit. That is just raw HTML that just lives between inside of the JavaScript file, but inside of the content value between backticks. Remember, this is a backtick, not a single quote. So now the next piece that we needed was the what is it? The X button. So we're gonna copy and paste this into our unsolved. We're gonna replace this title that's already in here, and we're gonna have please sign in, and then the HTML tags for the button is gonna have the ID close pop over, and it's gonna have some classes associated with it just for styling. The X is created by using this I tag and then using font awesome class names, and then we're gonna close that button so that when we refresh the page, we now have an X. This X does nothing, but we're gonna assign a on-click event to it. So now we're going to go and grab this from here and move that over to our unsolved JS. And what that is it's going to take the ID of the button that we created in the title. On click is going to do this function of work. That function of work is just saying is going to grab the sign in button pop over, which is this pop over here, and is going to hide it. In the same way we were using popover show when the page loads, we're just going to hide the popover when the button X is clicked. So let's save this and see this in action. Refresh this page. Click X is going to hide it. Next, we're going to then say on submit, we're going to grab the values. We're first of all going to hide the popover. We're going to then set the background color to green for the button, and then replace the text of the sign in button to be, signed in. So let's copy that over from solved to unsolved.
So the code that you pasted on title.
Correct.
Where did you initially cut that from?
I just copied it from the this.
No, I know you copied it.
Yeah.
Initially, did you get it from Bootstrap as well?
Well, this is just a regular button. So it didn't even have to have all these fancy class names. It could have just been.
Just a close popover.
Oh! You're talking about this one over here?
The very first one.
Yes.
It has button ID close popover. The
yes.
Close popover is a Bootstrap ID.
No, that's just a custom ID. This could have just been close.
Oh, okay, and then you're calling it.
And then I'm just calling it down here. This ID is up to you. You can name your ID whatever you want.
Got it.
That's just your unique way of saying for this specific button, I wanted to hide the popover.
Right.
And then as a bonus activity, they said when you click the submit button, it would hide the popover as we did earlier for the close button. It would grab the sign in button and change the CSS background color to green, and then it would just change the text to say signed in. Let's refresh the page and do that. Blah blah blah. And then it changes it to signed in with the background color green. So you have the solution. Spend some time at home looking at it. I'll give maybe like 1 more minute for questions, but we really need to move on.
I just did what you did with the copy and paste, but it's not working in mine. So I posted it.
Okay, let's take a look at that after class.
You gotta make sure you gotta put an ID to your.
Cool. Now, the next section that we're looking at would be exercise 3.
Okay, great.
So everybody pull that up. We're going to be looking at this HTML. What is in this HTML? Let's see. Huh?
We only see solved.
Yes, we only have a solved folder in here because we're going to walk through it as a class.
Okay.
So,
Start with the HTML.
yes. So open up the HTML. You're going to see a button. When you click this button, it creates another button, button 2. And you click button 2, it's going to create button 3s. Button 3 does nothing. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, I had this actually loading the wrong. Wait a minute. There we go. All right, this is what you should see. When you click button 1 and you click it multiple times, it's going to keep on creating button 2s, but button 2 doesn't do anything. What we're going to learn is the ability to add an on-click event to a button that's being created in real time. Button 2 does not exist in HTML. If you look at our HTML file, all we have in the document is button 1. In app.js1, which is the JavaScript that we're loading at the bottom, app.js1, we see that we have for the ID add button, it has an on-click event that says it's going to grab, let's see, this button class. Where is that associated? There we go. It's a div. It's going to grab, wait a minute, is that actually the div? Yeah. It's going to grab this div and add a button to it. It's going to append a button within that div. What button is it going to append? Button 2. That's what we saw earlier. And so when we click button 1, it's just appending more and more buttons to that div. When I do inspect, you're going to see that within the div class buttons, it has all of these button 2s. Now, what we attempted to do was that we were going to select all of the button 2s that have a class button 2, which they do, right here, class button 2. And we're going to say on click event for those buttons, append to the same div a new button called button 3. But this doesn't work. Who wants to take a stab at why this doesn't work? Because, as you'll remember, JavaScript works from top to bottom. When this page loads, it's immediately going to find the add button by its ID and attach an on-click event to it. Then, it's going to try and find all the buttons with the class name 2 and add an on-click event. But the problem here is what?
That it's not going back to the top, so you need to grab the first thing you did, the add button, and put it on button 2.
No. This does not exist. This does not exist when the page is loaded. When the page is loaded, there is no button 2. There's nothing to attach an on-click event to.
So you have to create it.
So now we're going to have to do this a little differently because we can't do what we were doing before. We're going to need it to dynamically attach an on-click event to this button 2 as it's being created. So now we're going to take a look at app 2. In app 2, the very first on-click event is exactly the same as it was in app 1. App 2's body now has a different type of on-click event. It has a .on function. This is going to be a new jQuery function, and what this means is to the bot. Okay.
Can you close the blinds?
Oh, there's a button over here? Oh, I see. Interesting.
They're all different heights, but whatever. Is that better?
Is that better? Okay, cool. So what we're saying here is for the body tag, you're going to notice that we're not using a pound sign. We're not using a dot. We're saying for the entire body tag. That's what this denotes. On a click event, we're going to attach to all the buttons with the button class 2. We're going to execute this function which says we're going to, what's it called? We're going to append. How can I explain this? I'm trying to think of the best way to signify this. What we're just saying is pretty much as button 2 is being created, we're going to attach a click event to all the buttons with the button 2 class name, and is going to, and when button 2 is clicked, we're going to create a button 3. That's what this is trying to denote. That was a really bad explanation. I'm trying to think of a better way to say this. Let's see.
Because we're literally creating the buttons in the JavaScript.
We're creating button 2 over here. So we're saying on click of button 1, and let me actually do this right now. On click of button 1 is going to create a button 2. That's what's happening over here. What we've already attached to the body tag is that for all buttons with the button 2 class, they will also have a click event, which will append a button 3. So it's like it's always listening for new buttons with the button 2 class name to attach this function to. So you can think of this as like a constant listener on the body tag. Every time we create button 2, it's going to attach this on-click event. So it's listening on the body tag because these buttons live within the body tag. So the body tag is always listening for button 2 to be created to attach this on-click event. Questions?
One, if you wanted to do that for a third button, for the third button, you just copy that and change that to button 3.
Correct.
And then, second question is, when would you ever use this?
There's so many use cases, quite honestly. Let's see. Let's say you're building a quiz, and your first question says, I don't know, you have 3 buttons, answer 1, answer 2, answer 3, answer 4. You click any of those buttons, it populates a brand new question, and they have on-click events. And you click those answers, and it populates more questions, stuff like that. Sure.
Copy and paste and change it to 3, go to 4, just so I can see how that works.
Yeah, sure. So then, just to reiterate, when I click button 2, button 3s get created, but I now want to attach a listener to button 3, so I would copy and paste this line of code and say all buttons with button 3 will now create a button called 4. Let's see.
Should we be doing this in app2.js?
In app2.js. So you're going to want to change in alternate listener HTML to use your app2.js. So then we refresh the page, click button 1, button 2. What am I missing? Okay, let's see. Yep. Oh, I gotta attach this class name to button 3. As you can see, this doesn't exist over here. So let me refresh the page.
Oh,
1, 2, 3. That also did not work.
you put button type.
What am I missing? On. You didn't create the last button. What am I missing?
You go to add class 3 to the top.
Oh, yes, to this one. Yes, my bad. I put it in the wrong place.
Oh,
Cool.
okay.
Thanks for finding that out. Cool. All right. 1, 2, 3. Now we have button 4.
Above it says button 2 and 4.
Yes, because button 2 is creating the button 3s, and button 3 has to have the class button 3. And so we're saying the body is now listing for these button 3 buttons, and it'll create the button 4.
Okay, and the button 3 doesn't have the class because.
It does have button 3. Oh, I had to add this.
No, the third.
This one over here?
Yeah, why
Yes.
doesn't have a class?
I would have to do button 4 right here if I wanted to create an on-click event for button 4s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you could just end it 4 and
That's
has no,
what
and
ends,
then it
so
has
that's
no.
why it ends.
Mhm.
Got it, so it's an action. Okay.
Yep, exactly. Cool. So does that make sense? Any questions on that?
So we shouldn't use the way it's done in app.js.
No, because that doesn't work.
So what was that?
The problem is that this is trying to attach an on-click event to a button that does not exist at the time.
Right, but what do we have that just to know that that's not what we use?
Correct. So you have an incorrect way to do it, and you have a correct way to do it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Can you append more than one button?
Yeah. We could just copy and paste this.
Oh, that's how you do it. There's no way of saying.
You could copy and paste the append function, or you could just do it within the string to have multiple buttons in the HTML.
Okay, you just. All right.
Yeah, because this string is just going to be raw HTML.
Okay.
Cool. So yeah, so now our next activity is what we're going to do for the rest of the class is going to be a to-do list. So everyone go to exercise 4. I'm going to open up the solved in the browser. And what this does is we're going to have a form that has one input box, and we're going to take different tasks, like, I don't know, take out the trash. We're going to click the plus button. Now we know if we see a button and we're applying text to an input box, what's the next logical thing that we know we need to build out? What's the next if we have a plus button and we have text inside of an input box, what's the next thing we need to do to create an action? Yes, exactly. We need an on-click event. We need an on-click event for the plus button. That does something. That something is injecting text into this box over here.
And then, oh, okay, so then the next on-click event would automatically note underneath?
Yes, we would be appending to this whatever HTML element this is, and we'll walk through that as well. But the second piece of this, think of this as like a bonus if you're unable to get the pluses to work. Well, actually, after you get the pluses to work, would be an on-click event on each individual element to remove them from the list. And that's where you'll need a listener, because these are being dynamically created. So that's where we'll need the on-click event, like we saw earlier. So let's take a look at what code is provided to you. If you Nothing. Oh wow. Okay.
A lot of the exercises that we've gotten have had nothing to start with.
Oh, okay.
I think it's not been very helpful because we can't build on things.
Yeah.
We have to start from scratch.
Yeah, that's true. Since we only have half an hour for this, I'm going to give you guys the HTML, and you guys just focus on the CSS. And well, on the JavaScript and CSS. Cool. So let me slack out the instructions. No. You guys have a whole bunch of stuff next week. But this is all the basics, because once you get this stuff, everything else makes sense. Yeah.
Can we copy the solved CSS at least to get started?
Okay, all right, let's do that. Copy the solved CSS and the solved HTML, but leave the JavaScript empty and build that out yourself.
That'll be a little
You guys will already have it.
because we could be here till 6 o'clock trying to do this.
Yeah.
Not that I'm not prepared to do
Don't forget, this is exercise number 4. You have.
You're not
that. Stay late today. I'm staying late.
Do it then. HTML it out.
Yeah, but feel free to build the HTML out yourself if you want to. Just as good practice.
So I have to go to the website without the JS on it.
So this is what you should have when you copy and paste the HTML and the CSS. Just the input boxes, where you're going to have your to-do tasks, and the plus.
My HTML and CSS.
How? I just copy and pasted mine.
I'll do it again. I must have done something wrong.
Yeah.
It's got to be user error. So I went to the solved CSS, copy it, and I'll put it in this document. Okay, save that. Go to the solved HTML. Copy. Put it in my unsolved.
Joey's like, yeah, I got
You still done with it?
Let's see my process way over here.
That's okay, right?
Yes. Yours isn't. I'm gonna open it. What do you mean, like?
Yeah. There you go. Just because my browser's small.
Oh, okay. Alright. So where's user error?
No problem. No problem.
Let's get
Yeah.
this dog and pony.
All right, everybody. You definitely should be working on the CSS right now. Let's start with the easy part first, which is the plus button on click event. click when the user clicks that plus button, it initiates an on-click event that grabs the value from the input box. Remember that .val function that we saw earlier in jQuery. And I'm going to also add that to the cheat sheet because I forgot about that. And that value is then dynamically injected into this box. But as I said earlier, console log it out every step of the way. Make sure that all your different assignments are doing what they're supposed to do, and just work through this. We're going to do this until 2 o'clock. Cheat sheet.
Yeah, the ID is the ad task, right? So that's going to be so is it an ID or is it a?
What do you have available to you?
Well, that's an ID. So that's just it's not matched.
Right here. Add from the button. When you click the button, you're trying to grab value from whatever's input, right? Correct.
Cool. All right, so I'm going to step out real quick to get a sandwich for Potbellies, but I'm hoping you guys are going to refer to your previous exercises. You're going to look at your cheat sheet. I want to come back. Everyone's going to have this done, and I can be very happy that I've actually taught you guys something.
Dude, I would have
So.
gone before you so you could have stayed here.
But I'll be right back. Probably be like 5 minutes.
The input is the task input.
But ID for that is the new task. Yeah.
So it's a new task.
Sometimes you just do the
Last time called new task pen.
I'm gonna go with that right now. Where was that? That was lesson. So, wait a minute, which activity was it? So you just add 2JS. So we're doing.
But what do you write before?
And then to
It's a pen and the new task.
This is an ass task. It just says type button. Well, the type down there says button, so it is a button.
We're trying to get this one.
So are you talking about if we look at JS, app 2JS?
The on click. We forgot to do on click. With the on that click. On click to add this. To add this on.
So then append would be
But for some reason it's
new
not.
task over here.
Click function.
You think?
So we're grabbing. So would it be button? Or would be the on task which is called
Oh,
add task?
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
so
button thing.
you're appending a new task.
Well, that's what the
Oh, when-
information is for the. That's what the like an HTML, the new task. So that's this is name is ID is new task.
Okay.
So depending that,
So you need to select first the new task, right?
so then here would be go to here.
So it's whatever is being clicked is being.
So that's
The
the add task.
M4,
So
the M4
First
BTN.
let me select
Let me see.
So where do we get that?
the HTML.
So you want new tasks to be clicked, right?
Well, no, you want add task to be clicked.
The button. Oh,
The
sorry,
button.
yeah, the button. Add task. Add task is
So
clicked.
that's okay to grab the information that was put.
Okay,
Would be
yeah, yeah,
BTN primary, right?
That.
Okay, so basically add task, dot click, and then call this function. I think function has a syntax error. You need to function.
Listen to what?
You're missing
And
the
then
add.
function.
That's right.
And then we'll see what that does.
Oh,
Okay, you appended it, but you want to append it into here, right?
yeah.
So it depends on what you're selecting. So
But it's not even saying if it's adding new appendings. Yeah, like it's adding hashtag. So wouldn't it just be text here?
so you want to add text into the box, right? So yeah, so this is a string that's being appended.
Yeah.
You're appending it onto the same element. So you need to, instead of appending it to the button, you need to add it to, well, I don't know if the instructions are on.
Is it button type? And then put on task? For a new task, I mean, button type would be a new task.
So not append, basically will add.
We'll append this.
HTML.
Yeah. And so we're appending a button for with a new task.
Yes.
Right, so I'll go over here.
Hard.
So I'm going back here and I'm looking at that.
Aren't you guys trying to add something into here, into a
Yeah,
box?
yeah.
So that would be
So
the
that's within the,
form, right?
yeah, that's within
Form
the
inline?
I,
So it would be the form inline?
That's the ID for that. Hard line.
so hard body, yeah, hard body is what it
Hard
is.
body? What's
The
that?
ID is
It's right down here.
Oh, it's very kind of, okay,
So yeah, you're gonna basically add a list item using dot splits.
Okay. So,
So it's it's doing
it's pulling it, but it's pulling the hard body name. So I think that's
so let's go back to your so what's happening is you're you and you need to append HTML. Okay, that's gonna add HTML to the document. And then what you're appending to, right now you're appending it to the button, which is why it's showing up really on that button. But you want to append it to the hard body.
There's a space in there.
so the first one we need hard body, and then add task later.
Yeah, so you would and so look at the HTML, and then you're gonna see a note there that says right here, insert this items, right? So there's an on order list, and you're trying to find a list
So
item.
in the
You're trying to add a list item to that
shows us
list.
the process.
So that tells you
Just do that.
that you're gonna need to select UL,
So what you're telling me
which
is
is a to-do list.
and then
The hard body and button, I'm asking you to do a new
So,
task.
okay, so now it's going to put it into the card body.
that's what this says.
Well, let me show you the HTML. I
It's
want to
pulling
value
one click.
So that button.
in this
So right up here,
card
so
forward body.
that see where you highlighted?
Yeah.
That's where you're trying to target. And so if you want to target this, you need to identify this as what you're appending to, right? So you're appending additional LIs into here. So you need to target this, these classes right here.
The target is the first one or the second?
The second. So whatever is so you need to append to this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So add tabs. Two.
But in the same line next to each other like that, because that's separated, it's saying the class body inside of the class.
So you don't have to what do you compare is it creating? Let's just go through it. It wasn't in the
you guys
You're
really
being weird. You're so lucky to be caught.
Not looking good, bro.
what's over here?
You don't want to
Like in theory, get rid of that. Here, and just that. I don't think that that is fine.
Pop over, but we're adding more buttons.
Yes.
It's three at two.
Also,
It has to be an HTML.
so ball jump on jQuery.
So I was saying that the function ID part of our site, right, just stay on time left to have a new task, right? Is that correct? That I'm lost.
Well, let's
I
just
grabbed
say
this, but this doesn't look correct.
let's just say every single point. Let's say that we learn many policies. So let's look at
Yeah, but we opened
We've got that use of words.
Oh, okay.
So that's right.
So we
Let's do this. First of all, this plus button. What are you trying to do? Does it have an ID or does it have
So that should be
But like there's
Yeah, so now so let's go back to in that function, this is console.
like you don't want to just have it straight.
But we don't know if it was
Right now, you're just bad. You're putting it here. Just so that we can see that this is okay.
Oh, where was it?
So now we have here. So now we can now what it's doing is now so
We're missing the one value somewhere.
see that you want to add it to this.
So
to this to-do list.
I'll start
Wrong place.
So we want to add to it so that to do this back.
Okay.
So you take the task.
It's to-do list, so use that.
so let's
So just this part of that entire thing. So it's not part of it. It needs to get a dot or a dash.
Now,
So that's how you do it.
but on to-do list.
So to do one to make the new function, should be applied. Oh, we didn't have anything to say. We're not telling you where, so we're assuming
Instead of like
is the already provided.
Whoa.
But where is task, if you did it the first time, so here, task,
Well, I don't know. Let's see if it works. Once it
Another
works,
thing
I'll tell you where I was drawing on this.
But the thing is, yeah, you don't want to just look at it. You want it, you want it to be do well, so do LI. Make sure that this is relative.
Console into value. That's fine. But we did never know that it was a value. We just were named it as a value, but we were in the
You wrap this out,
function,
you wrap it in
value. This is
Not the
what
way I
grabs
would
the value. This is what recognize this as value. Now.
Oh, so it's, you have to apply that, but you also tell it where you're going to value, right? What value are you going to come to the hard value? So, okay, and where, so that's where I went back to the P&L. I said, okay, so you know, the box one is at tax. I mentioned the box one. So this is one when you click on it to grab a value from where? From tax. Because this is asking this box. So we're telling it, so when you click on plus sign, which is at tax, I want you to grab the value from the box called input value. That's the box called tax input. And I want you to grab the value in there and put it in hard value.
Now we do well, this is
And console log is
LI syntax would actually be.
So you put that
Oh,
out,
okay.
whatever.
So instead of button type, it's
Stop value.
that would make sense, because intuitively that makes more sense than button. But I was thinking button because of the plus sign. So, okay, let me see. Yeah, you want to say something?
Just gonna like, so define what a task is. I mean, task is.
Why you have that as an LI?
That task is a
But
task.
you need to add something to it.
Oh.
I never closed this. So, so that would be
It's not from the plus one. From the area of the locating the information. Oh, so we can so we forgot to tell it where
Right, so we forgot to tell it how much to grab the values, and we forgot to tell it where the values are coming from.
So what we said was just tell it that you should combine we were telling it what to grab or where to grab.
But honestly, so
You're like saying,
now
you're
you have
giving
to
grab the
this over
values,
here.
that
This over here. You won't even tap.
Okay,
You will not even tap.
so I've got to grab it from the grab. How do I do it?
So what you want
So,
is, okay, on
so we're
this
at task.
full value.
So here's what you're saying.
You're taking out when you syntax. Like add task. You're grabbing whatever you wrote inside your input.
It's what you said, it's grounded in
So it's establishing what's in your task.
Then the cheat sheet, which is your ending. Ending. Ending LI is inside.
Well,
You're
it's
adding
so working
LI
that this
inside.
endings have a value now. Because that's not the
Oh,
value,
okay.
you're seeing the value. So
So
you're
you're
like,
adding
I
value.
First
worry about
it is that. It is, yeah.
Because you can also, then you can go to LI, and you can add LI.
Because it's like over in the.
Right, but it's
So
it's much
keep it
treatment
down.
would be
List, here.
Yeah, no,
So
that,
that's where
that's good to do.
That's the LI class.
Sometimes
You
you
need
just rush
to
it.
select this button here. Because if you put this inside the close, it'll literally say.
And then the,
You don't want it to
what's
limit
next
hard.
is to do
You want it to be very.
and then we just created a console log just so that I can see something.
Oh, you're using capitalized English. Yeah, it's capitalized English.
You grab the same size.
This thing, we can give it a value, CCCs.
So you have to add
With the flash.
no flash. Now we're I like add exercises. Now we know it's click syntax.
And quotes.
Oh,
Carry, whatever you want to put in there. You don't know.
Sometimes I see
And that's fixed with text here. Text.
JavaScript will accept and encode the strings, so it's still the same thing. It's just that sometimes
Now I have to take this word text and I have to go back so that every time somebody types in text, it doesn't say text.
All right, everybody. It's about that time, end of class. So I just kind of wanted to walk through the solution really quickly for this exercise. So the very first thing is we're going to add an on-click event to the add task. The add task is this button over here. We know that its ID is add task because it exists in the HTML as add task ID for this button. When this button is clicked, it then enters this anonymous function over here and grabs the value from the input box by selecting task input.val. We saw this last class. We know that this input box ID is task input because it was created prior in the HTML and its ID is task input. We're associating it with a variable called new task. Now it goes and it does a check to see is new task an empty string or not. You guys have not seen this syntax before, so I'm going to explain to you what it means. Before we said triple equals means is new task equal to empty string. By adding a exclamation point, that's saying is new task not equal to empty string. This is just kind of like a fail-safe so that you're not doing work with empty strings. I want to show you what happens when that's not there. Let's open this up in the browser. Right now, when I hit plus, it's not doing anything. It's not adding anything. It only adds stuff when I enter text. But if this JavaScript was not here to check for this, and I refresh the page, it gives the users the ability to add empty strings, which might not be what you want. So that's all that's doing over there. What else? So then we're going to grab the to-do list by its class name, and we're going to append an li HTML tag to the list. And so then we're also going to clear the input box just for aesthetics. This isn't 100% necessary, but it looks cleaner. So when I refresh the page and I have QE and I hit add, QE is still there. I have to remove that and type something else and then add that. That's what that empty string val is doing over here. You'll notice that these are li tags that get added to the UL. This UL is the parent that we're grabbing by its class name to-do list, and we're just adding a whole bunch of child li tags. When we inspect the page, you'll see these are all just li tags that get added dynamically to the page. And then finally, as a bonus, we're adding an on-click listener to all of the li tags that have a .todo class in them, and we're saying this li tag that got clicked, remove it from the screen, and that's why we're able to see these elements get removed when we click on them. That's what that does.
Can you explain line 11 with the plus new task plus? I don't remember us learning that.
Which one? Oh, this?
Yeah.
Oh.
Plus new task plus we didn't learn that.
Yeah. So what this is doing is it's taking three string elements. It's taking this first element, which creates the first tag of the li, and it's injecting this variable, which we know is a string because we're grabbing it from the input box, and just concatenating them together. That's what the pluses are doing. It's going to add all these strings together so they're one big string. So yeah, that's what this is doing. Questions on this? As always, you have the solution. Take a look at it at home, play around with it, remove things, add things. This is really for your own benefit that you understand what exactly is going on the screen, and then come back on, Tuesday with questions. Cool.
Are you back on Tuesday?
I will not be back on Tuesday.
Well, then who do we
Yeah.
give our questions to?
Dave and Stephanie. They're
Alex?
Alex.
Dude, I got your Slack. I'll be slacking you forever, bro.
Okay, cool. I got the names mixed
Got you
up.
on Slack, dude. That's it.
Yes, so I'm not always on Slack. So the best place to reach me would be on LinkedIn. I can provide my LinkedIn URL. And actually, this is a great time for a plug. Besides my LinkedIn, which I'll send out later, I started a meetup here in DC with a couple other coworkers called the Black Code Collective. We meet every now and then, so check us out at Meetup. Here's a little what's it called, disclaimer: you don't have to be black to join. This is just we center on like black centric stuff, but anyone can join. We still talk about a lot of software development topics. There's going to be things that are generalized that everybody can learn from it, stuff like that. So yeah, so check us out if you're interested, Black Code Collective, and then I'll Slack on my LinkedIn right now. Cool. So you guys are free to go. I'll Slack them both out. Someone had a question over here?
Is it in Virginia or?
No, this is in DC. Yep. All right, let's see. Wow. Cool.